when the time comes, and you can do exactly that. Hello, people of YouTube. It's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news for the 28th of December 2024, our final DCS news for this year. I hope you all enjoyed that, my first in my series of tutorial videos all about the AH-64D Apache, all about how to start that helicopter up. It's a very, very complex machine. There's going to be quite a lot of content to put together for that one, I think. And this is, I've been kind of holding off. Everyone's been very, very excited to get some content in the Apache, but I've been holding off for a while, simply because I was worried about the development of it. There was still lots of things being done to it very actively. I think we're now getting to the end of early access. There's not that much left to implement, and I know that after early access we have things like the radio frequency interferometer and the jammer and so on that will be added. I think there's one more FCR mode as well to come. So I feel fairly confident about putting together some tutorials, and they won't get clobbered by updates. So welcome to the stream, Tea Kettle Barbecue, Tog, Only Napalm, Mark S, Pink Floyd, Paul Cope, B. Denson, JP Gibbons, Colin Kelly, Osprey. Welcome. Yes, and yeah, I also hope that you all had a most splendid Christmas, and hopefully a bit of time off of work as well. As we've been doing recently, I have the one and only John Bluer with me today, and unfortunately his video is not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Because of my silly browser window again. Hello, welcome to the stream, John Bluer.
Hello. Thanks for having me, as always.
Twitch.tv/John Bluer for all of you looking to go and have a peek at the things that John does. And I believe that some of the Deep Hack regulars have been over there and hanging out with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a few people coming in. I forget the names now because I was probably busy dodging SA-19s. But whoever did pop in, it was lovely to see you. We were chatting away to different people. I'm crap with names, so it's nothing personal. but yeah, it was really nice. We were just chatting about stuff, getting on our soapbox about updates and patches, as we'll get into.
Oh yes.
But it was really, really nice. So yeah,
all of the updates have been perfect. What are you talking about, John?
I know, mate. I know. It's what is it? What did they use to call? They said they came up with a term, overwhelmingly positive. That's it.
Yes,
it was overwhelmingly positive. Exactly.
Absolutely, just like Steam reviews. So I wonder if you give us a quick, a short version of what you do on your stream and what is the John Bluer channel all about.
Yeah, so most of the time, if I'm streaming, I've been doing a little bit over Christmas because I have some time. It's all pretty much DCS. I'm mostly a rotary ops kind of person, and it's mostly PvE kind of stuff. I'm not a big PvP person. I would just get my butt handed to me. But it's mostly rotary ops. If not, it's the Glorious Harrier. I do want to learn the F-15, but as we know, that's kind of up in the air at the moment. That was going to be my fixed wing. That was going to be my fast fixed wing.
Actually, me too. Instead, I'm kind of flying the F5 and the Jeff.
Yeah. Which are they're just not Strike Eagles, are they? It's just not the same.
It's not the same.
So that was going to be my fast mud moving jet. But no, it's cool. Mostly do that, and then whenever projects come along as well, I also do digital illustration. So the new the tornado images on Deep's pages, that was me. And then famously, this other stuff I've done was stuff for Casmo, and I did the Kiowa loading screen artwork and merch as well. And I have it on good authority that potentially the Gazelle artwork that I've done may be arriving at some point soon. So we'll have to see. So yeah,
I do like the Gazelle.
It's a great aircraft. I jumped back in that the other day, and I was like, actually, this is really nice to fly. This is a great helicopter.
When you go from the Kiowa to the Gazelle, you realize just how nimble and how fast the Gazelle is. And it's not
Yeah.
like, the Kiowa's not slow or
No.
anything, but the Gazelle is just something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I tell you what, the Kiowa is. The Kiowa is nimble. It's just not fast. It's so draggy.
Mm,
It's that big MMS, isn't it? And it's also it's a powerful helicopter, but they've just tried to cram in like a billion different pieces of kit.
yeah.
Whereas the Gazelle is just basically like a periscope and some goodwill.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I've got no interest. For some reason, I've never been into the Vivian version,
Mm,
like the
mm,
anti-tank version. I don't find that very interesting. I much prefer the lighter kind of recon setup with the
mm,
periscope sight. I like that
yeah.
version.
And it's surprisingly fun. And when I say fun, I wouldn't ever want to do it in real life. When you do tank jousting
No.
with tanks as well, so when you get in, and I've definitely been in helicopters before where if you've got a good pilot and you see their ATGM coming towards you and yours is going towards theirs, you
Uh,
can do a little bit of like a shimmy if you're careful and dodge. But it takes balls.
yeah, it's a bit scary.
It's
Yeah,
very
I've
scary.
heard of people doing exactly that kind of stuff, like yeah, basically jousting with tanks, like in
Yeah.
Iraq and things like that. And it's like, no, no, I do not
No, thank
like.
you.
And this was probably mostly like T-55s and things like that, but still, you don't want to mess with a tank.
Oh God, no. Yeah, and especially when the front of the helicopter is just a big glass ball.
Yeah,
There's nothing to save you.
yeah. Even if they fire a dart at you, you're probably dead.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to the stream, Miss Aid. Hello from Canada. Channel Right, a happy new year to you and family. Syntax, evening all. Eagle Wings, hello guys. Pink Floyd, when the Gazelle is a K50, I'll fly it. our man Pink Floyd does like his K50.
It's a great helicopter, to be fair. It is
It
awesome.
is. It is. I need to do some more videos on the Black Shark 3 because I only did, like, I did a few just kind of showing off the changes and what it looks
Mhm.
like now. I
Mm,
do have a complete playlist on the original.
mm.
Yeah, Tog, your glass ball is no match for 125 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nasty, nasty.
Ugh.
Like, and if it's one of the high explosive ones, you're just hoping that it doesn't fuse, and you just get a
Yeah.
really big hole in the canopy, like a big entrance, big exit, and you're all
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just leave with your soiled
Yeah.
underwear. Fantastic. So yes, what else was I going to say? Yeah, of course, I've started my series on the Apache now. This is going to be really, really fun, and I'm probably going to have some chums along for some of those tutorials. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mm,
So we'll see how that goes.
yeah.
First few are probably going to be solo, but once we get into some of the bits which are more kind of where you're really kind of operating as a crew, there are bits where you kind of need to
Mm,
have both seats. So I will
yeah.
probably employ the help of others.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of content going to be going on that because Apache is just does everything, has so many systems. It's crazy.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
even just doing that DMS sweep during the startup is like ridiculous. Like how many
Mm,
settings do you need to check through to make sure it's as you want it? And I
mm.
wonder if they do this in the real helicopter or if how much of this is actually loaded via DTC.
I suspect a fair amount is DTC.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've gathered, they're not doing all of that. They usually have the time to, because they're usually sat there for a bit, aren't they? Whilst everything else is getting sorted out around them. You know, it's not the Apache pilot's fault. It's usually if they're doing some sort of exercise, there's other stuff going on.
Hmm.
But I've heard that a lot of this stuff is all DTC. This would be really well. This would be the most interesting part of the DTC, wouldn't it? It'd be seeing like what does it do? I can imagine it'd be like comm channels.
Oh
I
yeah.
imagine it would probably be that. It'd probably be all your waypoints, target points, all that kind of stuff, all the TSD stuff, data link stuff as well. I can imagine that would probably all be DTC. I can imagine like things like whether you use chart or digital maps and things like that's probably more personal preference. I can imagine, and maybe even things like what your flare and your chaff settings are. You know, your programs, countermeasure programs, but yeah, I can imagine a lot of that sort of stuff would be DTC. That'd be nice. I use for multiplayer especially because you kind of want to just jump in and you don't really have that planning process, do you? Especially if you're not doing like a pre-planned mission. I use a really nice little piece of software called The Way. And what's really nice about that is you can easily build like a waypoint, do all that, and then what's nice is that when you die, which inevitably that happens a lot, you can just kind of just plug it in, and it just kind of goes, brrr, and you see all the buttons move at super quick speed. So
Yeah, actually,
yeah,
we just started using that in 3 Squadron for the Harrier now.
yeah,
So yeah, it is pretty nice.
really useful. Yeah.
Gayla, evening. Irish Pat 64. Hello, friends. Hope you had a happy Christmas. Fishy's Canal, good evening. Woods and Bikes, happy holidays, everyone. So, welcome. We've got a lot of people in the stream. That's fantastic. Nice to see you all. Welcome if you've just joined just now. Let's get started with the news, as we often do. So, latest newsletter. This is from yesterday. We got an update. This is the final update. I love the fact that they say it's the final update, but we'll get to that. Of 2024, you'll find the latest models of the B-52H, S-3B, B-1B, as well as highly detailed SA-10, Max Pro, Abrams, and C-RAM. These assets form the basis of the heavy metal pack announced earlier this year, which at some stage we thought we were going to pay for, but now they've obviously been convinced to give it away for free. We will continue working on more air, ground, and sea units in 2025. This update also contains many improvements, bug fixes, and new features. So yeah, there's a full changelog. We'll hit that changelog in a momente. Also, don't forget that the winter sale is still up. I'm not going to repeat all the savings that are on that, but that's going to run until the 9th of January at 1500 GMT, or if you are a Steam peasant, then the 2nd of January at 1800 GMT. Yes, no, I'm obviously joking. I like Steam, but yeah, bit longer on the ED one.
Yeah, praise be to Gabe Neural, but you are a bit of a pleb for using this.
Praise Gaben. Yes, Eagle Wings. That is why DTC implementation is very vital in DCS. They were actually, what was it they were talking about recently? ED were talking about which aircraft in the previous newsletter was basically going to get DTC first. Which one?
When they say the MiG's going to get one, isn't it? There's some
right.
sort of mission planner thing. But if I remember rightly, if you look at all of the forums for all of the roadmaps, I think for the Hornet, the Viper, and the Apache, DTC is either next or second to next. So I think they want to kind of nail all those at the same time, because I think it's a piece of code that's going to kind of go across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super important, and it was one of the things that always bothered me about the Harrier, because like mostly I follow the NatOps checklist for the Harrier, and the one bit I can't follow is the bit where I load all my stuff from the cartridge. And funnily enough, quite a lot of the bit tests were actually implemented in the Razbam Harrier, so you can follow most of it. It's pretty good. Sad. Shed a tear.
Before we get stuck in, what was left on the Harrier, at least for the NA? I can't remember what was left. There was some weird stuff to do with the TGP. It was the TGP.
We were going to get multi-target tracking, much like the Apache has. Actually, it in fact works almost exactly the way the TADS does in the Apache, where you can have, I think, 2 targets, like an A and a B, and you can flip-flop them, which is really, really handy. What else were we supposed to get? There was a list. I compiled a list with Alpha Juliet in the Discord, and we kind of agreed what we thought was important. I was always asking for the buzzsaw sound for the engine, because to me that's very, very important. The transmission little colons inside the radio windows were missing. That was supposed to be added. Time of flight for dropped munitions.
That's true, yeah. When you fire a weapon, whether it's a Maverick or a bomb, you're supposed to get a TOF, weren't you, as well?
Supposed to get a time of flight, that's missing. Dive toss.
Dive toss. And wasn't there for the EW page, we were supposed to get an offset as well for the RWR? Never got that. And I think we were supposed to get threat rings on the EHSD, weren't we, as well?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it was nothing major. It was just nice little kind of cherries on the cake. Like the core functionality is there, and it mostly works pretty good. The functionality of waypoint increment has been kind of bugged for a very, very long time. Like as soon as you have target points, you can go waypoint, and then it mixes in a target point for some reason, and then you can't get back out of target points into waypoints. You have to long press and then choose it from the UFC. So there's been a couple of strange bugs, but they've been there for like 3 years now, I think.
Yeah. They haven't accrued, have they? Yeah, because that's one thing I told someone the other day. They're like, "Oh, is the Harrier like still working?" I was like, to be fair, I don't know if you picked up anything deep, but like Harrier seems fine, which is crazy because even Razbams themselves said it was a spaghetti code.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that it's still fine is like kind of amazing to me.
It has bugs, but it has bugs that it's had for years.
Mm,
So it has not degraded in any way. It's exactly the same quality today as it has been for the last 3 years or so.
mm,
Um, which is to say, it's perfectly good. I
yeah,
fly it every week, and I
yeah.
really like it. Pink Floyd just bought the FC MiG 15. Damn good fun. Mark S. Nice that John has the stream title running across his monitor. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Only Napalm, DTC, and Walk Around. The thing is, of course, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, I believe, pushed ED to implement the nice new clouds. Perhaps the walk around functionality in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 will push them to give us something similar in DCS, because it is something that me and some other people have been asking for a long time.
Mm.
That said, there have also been a lot of people in the forums who are like, no, don't waste your time on this crap. Nobody needs this. I want it.
I would argue one of the big issues that DCS has is it's really detailed technically, but it lacks a lot of immersion. It
Yeah.
lacks a lot of experiential stuff. And being able to walk around the jet and to do those kinds of things, they don't seem obviously like a big deal, but they're these little things that add up, these little 1% that make things so much better. And we've seen this with like even the deck crew. Like in the
Oh,
big
yeah.
scheme of things, the deck crew thing is not a huge big deal. It isn't if you really think about it. Like compared to where they were before. But just the fact now they go, no, look at me, and then they go, no, hand over to this guy, then look at that guy. You know, that's a level of detail where you're like, wow, that just makes you feel like you're in this world. Then you add things like raindrops on the canopy. Then you add
Yeah.
things like fog. Then you add things like the air boss thing, and all these little touches. They don't seem like a lot, but they add up. And I'd say walking around the jet and like it'd be cool. I mean, how it sounds really silly. But how cool would it be if you could pull the tags off and you
Yeah.
could like do all that stuff yourself? That'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Oh, very much so. Although I'm pretty sure in real life it's not the pilot who does that, but
No,
nonetheless,
no.
I would
Yeah, yeah.
imagine it's the crew chief.
Maybe you have a button to change to crew chief, and then you do that and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because of course it's the crew chief who holds up the tags
Mm.
before engines start, just to show you that he has them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That'd
yeah,
be
yeah,
awesome.
it's gonna be the crew chief who does that. But yeah, no,
Mm.
I agree. It'd be a lot of fun. I would really really enjoy doing that kind of thing. And like even the ability to like we have it in Razbam implemented it for the Strike Eagle, where when you wanted to set the codes on the bomb, it actually shows like the side of the bomb with the rotaries, and you move
Mm.
the rotaries. Like if you could walk up to the bombs and actually do that, that'd be kind of fun. Although super inefficient, obviously. Doing it via the
Mm.
rearm page is way more sensible. But
Yeah, yeah,
having the option,
yeah,
it would be a laugh.
yeah.
Flyboy Gospel. I've been watching all of your F-14 Rio tutorials. Great stuff. Thank you for making them. Thank you very much. I've noticed a strange uptick in my Tomcat playlist in the
Mm.
last few weeks. I don't know what happened. Somebody obviously posted it somewhere, but it's getting a lot of views right now.
Mm.
Osprey, love the Harrier. Please don't die. Eagle Wings, ATC is another immersion element that's lacking in DCS. We've had a promised rewrite of the ATC for years now. I don't know where ED are with it, but they said they were completely re-engineering it.
Mm.
And much like the dynamic campaign, I think it's turned into a much bigger endeavor than they expected.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart McLean, Pimax delivered my crystal light on Christmas Eve.
Hey.
Woods and Bikes, the deck crew update is a nice one from the videos I've seen. Yeah, I think it looks really good. Only Napalm, yes, you are in DCS world.
Mm. It's the world bit they need to add in, isn't it? It's like the DCS bit they've got right, but now we need to feel like we're in a world. It's not just a sandbox.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are asking for. What was it that chap? Is it Ian Christie? Did he say it
Yes.
was like it's breadth as much as depth? And I was like, yes, that's like really accurate way to put it.
Oh yeah,
But,
his stuff is really good. Actually, sorry, I missed Woods and Bikes. Deepak, thank you for the Tomcat tutorials. They're quite informative. I've been out of DCS for a while and trying to return to the fun.
mm,
Nice. Cool. Anyway, let's continue with the newsletter. I'm going to skip over a bunch of this stuff. But yeah, we got this new asset pack. We got the B1B, B52H, S3B, and the tanker. The SA10, which is the S300. M1A2, M1A2C SEP V3, MRAP Max Pro, and the Centurion C-RAM. So yes, some very, very pretty vehicles for us to look at.
mm,
And then we have the summary of the DCS update that we just got. This one was kind of a surprise. I wasn't expecting an update at this time.
mm,
But yeah, they've changed the spotting dots again, so we should check those out and see how we feel about them.
mm.
The mission editor functionality has been expanded. We've got new triggers, stuff to do with cargo. Issues around multi-selection tools like rotating units and loading templates have been resolved. We'll look at the change log a little bit later. The Viper. Now, I was not expecting this, and I'm really happy to see this because I've seen this done better in BMS, and it was always feeling a little bit missing in DCS, and I'm referring to the refresh rate of the HUD. In DCS, the refresh rate of the HUD has always been too good. Like they've simulated the HUD to be better than the real one. And that's not really the case. Different values in the HUD update at different intervals depending on the type of sensor. And they've now implemented this, and it's super cool. So, flight model radar behavior. The HUD's limited refresh rate now updates airspeed, altitude, and acceleration at fixed intervals, making fast-changing parameters correctly skip values. So that's really, really cool. And then the other thing is, I know people have been complaining for a while that the F-16 is underperforming based on the performance curves we have. And they claim that they've now found the missing performance and they've added it back in. So we're probably going to get better top speeds, better acceleration, and better... what's it called again? That turning thing that people do in dogfights? Sustained turn.
Right. Yeah, right when you're doing a rate fight. Yeah, sustained turn rate. That's it. You got instantaneous, haven't you? And then you got sustained.
Yeah. So apparently it's going to behave correctly now, which is kind of cool. Deep stall issues have also been addressed. So like BMS simulated this quite well, where you could get yourself into a really, really deep stall, and sometimes even with the pitch override, it was very, very challenging to get out of. We never really had that in DCS, and they now claim they have implemented it. So it's now possible to get the aircraft into some very, very funky situations that might be hard to get it back out of, which sounds like fun. Radar bugs have been fixed. External fuel transfer now functions even if air source is set to RAM. Flickering of CCIP has been fixed. And we've got an updated guide, which is good. F-18C is mostly a bunch of fixies. The H-64, we got a lot of stuff to do with the SCAS, which is nice. Undergone flight model improvements. The thing that you mentioned one time about the tail rotor effectiveness being too high, they claim they fixed it. They say that they've reduced its effectiveness by about 20%, which is supposed to be more realistic.
Yeah, so I gave it a good rag around the other day to see what it was like. The thing's on frickin' rails now, which it should be. I mean, this is something which has got a lot of stability to augmentation systems in it. And when you speak, this sounds like there's still a way to go. When you see comments from, as I think Brad Mix, a guy who's kind of been involved in the process, and he's been quite vocal. He said there's still some issues, but it should be basically a helicopter that flies on complete rails, and it's so nice to fly now. You don't really, if you've got it trimmed out nicely. So if you've got it in an aero trim, rather than nose tail, if you center the ball and you trim it out nicely, you don't even really need the attitude and altitude trim hold modes. It will just fly on a rail. It's so nice, and it doesn't. When I say that, it doesn't feel like unrealistic. There will be a little bit drift after time, but it just really reduces your workload. And I've been saying it for a while now, where you'd really notice it is when you're in a slower regime. It's between that 60 and 25. So you're not quite going into ETL yet, but you're kind of in that zone where you're approaching it. The two things which are really horrible was the thing would love to VRS, and it shouldn't be doing that all the time. Every helicopter pilot I've spoken to, they're like, VRS is just not the thing it is in DCS. It's just shouldn't be as much of a problem as it is. It is a thing, but it's so rare. And it wanted to VRS really quickly when you went into that ETL. And then the other thing was when you would get into that point, it would do this weird yaw oscillation. It would kind of wind vane a bit.
I've seen that.
And I don't know why it would do it. It's something I think it's to do with the heading hold, because the way the Apache works is there's always a heading hold. So every time you trim, it applies a new heading hold. As part of the SCAS systems, and it was just really odd. It's at slow speeds. faster speeds, usually either holding the trim as you're doing a maneuver or you're tapping it, and it's fine. But it was just really odd. That's gone, as far as I can tell. I need to play around with it a little bit more, but it's really nice now. And I was flying around, and at one point I was low at about 50 feet or so, and I was able to just slip it between trees, and I had lots of side slip, and it was, I don't know. I'm what's the word? I'm ranting on it about it now, but that's how nice it is. So yeah, as far as the scars and all that sort of stuff, it's flying better than it ever has been. The Apache. It's a really, if someone's thinking about picking up the Apache, now is a really good time to pick it up because it flies. Mwah, chef's kiss. Mwah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They say that the Vortex ring state, as you said, it's now also accompanied by new visual and audio warning. So I guess we're going to get judder,
cool.
and we're going to get sound, which is going to make
Yeah.
it easier to avoid.
Mm.
So that's kind of cool. They've adjusted the animations of the rotor. The interface for George AI has been enhanced. Multiple small bugs, including incorrect TADS camera clipping and error messages for en route distances, have also been fixed. Then we've got some cool stuff going on with the Chinook. They're further kind of fiddling with the way the trim and its things like LCT and cyclic stick position and so on. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's just nice tweaks there. Supercarrier, we've got more updates with the deck crew stuff. So that's kind of good. Catapult launching logic has been improved. There is a known issue regarding the disabled deck crew option not functioning properly, unless it was set beforehand in general settings. And we've got a bit more completion when it comes to the F5E. Things that were kind of notably missing in the first iteration are now here. So we've got cockpit shake and vibration. We've got wingtip oscillations at high OA. We've got the new LERX vapor effects, because the ones it had were actually like kind of like DCS 2.5 era vapor effects. They've brought it right up to the modern standard of vapor effects. It looks much better. The RWR dimmer now works. The service hatches are now working. Parking lot static aircraft parameter placements and theme loading pictures have all been adjusted.
Cool.
That's those are the kind of the big ticket items, and then after that, ED just wish us a happy new year, which is very, very nice of them. If we jump into the change log, we can see the kind of nitty gritty of the things that have been changed. And yeah, the main thing again with the F-16 is the HUD. I think that's going to be really, really cool. And then a bunch of fixies, and we've also got updates to the manual, fixies for the Hornet. A bunch of fixies, as we said, for the flight model and the SCAS in the Apache. However, I'll quickly note here, there are some bugs that have slipped in, and I think, John, you know about these as well.
Yeah.
Apparently, both George and Petrovich have had their intelligence reduced somewhat.
Yeah. So it's the theory is it's got something to do with the new fog system that they've added. So if you're creating a mission and you have fog enabled, or it's on auto, even if you have the fog set to 0 and the fog is on auto in the mission editor, Petrovich and George effectively can't see anything. They're effectively blind.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they've said fixed. George AI can see target through the fog. Petrovich fixed, and it's like no, both of them are broken. Completely broken. So it's a little bit annoying. And so it depends on especially if you're a multiplayer person, you're going to find certain servers have it on, some certain servers don't have it on. Also, just to mention with the F5, because I've just been doing a little bit of look into the patch. There's an FPS bug at the moment in the F5 remastered.
Oh, no.
Apparently it's getting really low FPS. We're talking about like 10 to 15 tops. Apparently they know exactly what it is and it's already fixed. So it's going to be whenever they do a hot fix or next patch or something, they can do it. They know what it is apparently. So if anyone is flying the F5 and they say it's flying like garbage, that's why there's an issue with it.
I haven't flown it in this patch, but I did fly it in the previous one, and it was flying great. Like, I was really enjoying flying it again.
It's a great jet.
Rafael Carvalho, any news about the Panavia Tornado? No, we've heard nothing about it for quite some time. Actually, well, I can't. As I say, I'll jump into my Discord, but in actual fact, I'm in a Discord call with John right now.
I'll have a look. Hang on, what's you doing up? I'll have a gander.
But yeah, the last time they mentioned anything, it was just some renders of the cockpit, and that was at least a couple of months ago, I think. So no, we've not heard much about it. Actually, really not heard much about it throughout 2024. So I can only assume they're in some kind of deep development phase, and there's not much to say yet.
I know it sounds like a bit of a cop out, but generally speaking, like if they're very quiet, it usually means they're really busy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No news is good news.
mhm. Yeah, there's nothing in the Discord. Just had a quick look.
Yeah. Channel right. I'd like to see an option to auto bore sight the Mavs in the F-16. Well, if you air start, then they're bore sighted.
Mm.
So this is always my answer to people. Like, again, mentioning my Black Shark 3 videos, I had so many kind of irritated comments from people asking me why I was doing all the different things that I was doing in the helicopter to get it started up. And I was like, well, if you don't want to start up the helicopter in a simulation, you don't have to. You could start already in the air, or you could start it hot started. So, yeah.
You can just tick pre-aligned, so those sort of things. I'm all for, like, my argument is like what Channel Wright said. I would love to see that option, because if you're someone who's like, nah, I don't want that, then you just don't tick it. I've always been the idea of very pro-choice for these kinds of things. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if people want an ability to auto bore sight, give them a little ability. And if server owners, if you run a server and you're like, I don't want it, I want to be accurate, always give the server owners like the top priority, so that people can't abuse the system or whatever. And then always then below that, give the individual players the
Yeah.
ability to do stuff, because I'm all for that kind of thing.
I think that's a good solution. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, of
Yeah.
course, if there are things you don't want to do during startup, just don't start up the jet.
Yeah.
Tog, it doesn't look like it, so that would make it not a tornado. Haha. Only Napalm, how about Chinook AAR? I think they did mention that was going to be coming later.
Mm,
I
I think so.
think.
Yeah.
I think. Flyboy Gospel, if Eagle Dynamics doesn't release a full fidelity F-15C within the near future, that will be a huge missed opportunity. The one in BMS, while not perfect, is quite good. I've not touched it. Yeah, it does look good from the pictures and what I know about it. Yeah, but I wouldn't imagine that anything outside of the F-16 is particularly well modeled in BMS.
Mm.
But my information's pretty out of date. Like I flew BMS years ago when they had like the Mirage 2000C and the F-18 Hornet and so on, and all of them just felt like reskinned F-16s.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure they've adjusted it since then.
I think the F-15, because I think it's Microprose got back hold of the rights, didn't they, of all the Falcon 4 and all that kind of stuff. And obviously the BMS team are sort of separate bunch of like a kind of co-op, aren't they, of modders and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
But from what I gather, the F-15 is quite actually a feat. They're actually really trying to model everything as it should be.
Oh, good.
So they've got like a data link and is it JTIDS that it uses, and it's
Yeah.
accurate. I think the RWR at the moment is still pretty much exactly the same as the one in the 16, and with
Which it
the
shouldn't
handoff
be.
tones. But
Yeah.
I think they will change that in time. But it looks pretty good. I mean, maybe I'm spoiled with DCS, but when for every moment you sit there and go, oh, DCS is not great with this or great with that, you then go to BMS, you're like, oh wow, actually DCS looks really good. But BMS does have that sort of simulation down. Obviously, what it's always had, isn't it, is that dynamic campaign that BMS. It's incredible. It's like wizardry, isn't it? That some guy came up with this on his own, like close to 20 years ago, whatever. But yeah, the F-15, it does look good. And to follow on what you were saying earlier on about the Microsoft Flight Simulator, they did clouds. DCS did clouds. Now they've done the walk around. They're doing walk around. I've noticed ED are quite reactionary. So
yeah.
I've got a theory. We've already talked about this, haven't we? The F-15. I think that's their next full fidelity. That's my opinion.
You've been saying this for a while now,
Yeah.
and it absolutely would make sense. Yeah, Flyboy Gospel correcting me there, saying, yeah, it's a complete ground-up development, and it's even a separate team from the guys who worked on the 16. So yeah, I would assume then that it is quite good. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff for the Apache. Anything particularly exciting that I haven't already mentioned? I don't think so. Yeah, Hind, as we say, sadly, it's been kind of messed up a little bit.
Yeah.
Chinook, more trimmer options and more fixies. Oh yeah, further work on the CDU pages. That's kind of cool. Flyboy Gospel. The developers are very open to discussions. Great guys to talk to. They've SMEs that double checked all of the systems and flight modeling. So that sounds nice. F5E, as we said, got a bunch of new stuff. Kiowa Warrior, we've got a fix for CTD and fixies to inputs and multi-crew stuff. Some small fixies for the Gazelle, some small fixies for the MB339, radar data link bug for the Jeff is now fixed.
Hmm.
Continuing to see a lot of stuff being added to the Mirage F1, which of course is an aircraft I rather like.
Mm.
But yeah, Aerges always hard at work and still patching away on the C101 as well, which is fantastic. I've done a bit of flying with Frantic in the C101. If Frantic's in chat, big shout out to you, Frantic. And it was a lot of fun. We were doing the full kind of instructor student setup and like passing control back and forth and flying circuits and doing all that kind of stuff. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Had the intercom working nicely as well.
Mm. That's awesome.
This was an SRS, so yeah, it works nicely in SRS.
Mm.
And then, yep, we've got a bunch of additions to the various maps and campaigns. So mostly a good update, but yeah, unfortunately, we do have these bugs here and there.
Mm.
So much sadness. But yeah, I have to say though, going back to the fog again. Oops, no, that's the wrong button. Going back to the fog again, I think the fog looks absolutely brilliant, and it really, really enhances the what would you call it exactly? The feel, like the environment,
The
the
ambiance. The
Ho, ho, ho.
ambiance. Yeah,
Oui,
exactly.
oui,
Yeah.
monsieur. L'ambiance, très bien.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you set it down very, very, very low, it's just that. Do you know that little like just haze just at the edge of the horizon? It's just, yeah. It's little touches. It's little things.
Yes.
And it's like you talking about the buzzsaw sound for the Harrier.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
imagine if Echo 19 was able to go give that it their treatment.
Well, no. We have our boy whose name I now can't remember. But he's
Oh
called
yeah.
something Cat, and he's making. He's also obsessed with the Sea Harrier. He has like an external model for the Sea Harrier that you can load into your Razbam Harrier. But he's also doing a complete sound mod. And we've played the video a couple of times that he's put up, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
He's not released it yet though. I need to go bother him. Say, hey,
Go
please.
bully him. Yeah. Give me. Yeah.
Please, sir. Irish Pat 64. Would you rather see an F-16D or a Super Hornet Foxtrot from DCS? Super Hornet.
Super Hornet. Yeah. And I'd probably say probably a Block 1 Super Hornet, because I think the Block 0 is very similar to the F-18C. So just getting a slight upgrade. I think as soon as you get to Block 2, you're looking at ACER radars, and they're not going to touch anything like that. So that's a nice little middle ground, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, because to me, the F-16D, although I know that the Israelis fly it as a combat aircraft, but mostly that's a trainer. So I don't really have much of an interest in the D, but Super Hornet, Foxtrot, yes. That's it's a real plane. That's a lot of fun. Only Napalm, Magnitude 3 send holiday greetings and new promise about the F4U. Haggis roll. Ooh, delicious. I would love to see players able to play it as ground units. Well, we already have that capability with combined arms. Irish Pat 64 or Tornado. Tornado. I would take
Tornado. Yeah.
Woods and Bikes, is there any discussion about adding the 2-seat Hornet Growler to the list of modules? Growler would be an absolute no-no, I can imagine, because that thing's more top secret than, I don't know, more top secret than anything.
You wouldn't even get a Prowler. I'd be surprised if they do an AI Prowler, because there's one thing that you can kind of simulate the effects of EW, but to properly actually simulate EW and how they use it is going to be, that's hot. That's a hot potato, isn't it? They're not going to touch.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, next one comes courtesy of Stormbirds.blog. Go and check them out. We have an update from Aerges. They gave us a wee sneak peek at their F-104 Starfighter. And first things first, they sent us a video. Now, sadly, John is going to disappear when I do this, but...
I'm back.
No, actually, you're not disappearing.
Yeah, there you go.
That's strange. Anyway,
we've flip you off then, and then good thing I didn't.
Yeah. So this is looking really, really nice. Like I think their modeling of this is very, very nice indeed. Just look at these textures in the cockpit. And this is a very interesting aircraft. Very, very fast at low level. So yeah, looking forward to this one. Oh, now John disappeared for some reason.
Yeah,
so yeah, F-104 from Aerges. That's looking very exciting indeed. And they also gave us a nice little, this nice picture here, which is kind of cool. An F-104 with a Santa hat. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Loving it.
I don't know what this ismailjorda.com is. Is that maybe the person doing the
Yeah.
modeling?
It could also be the guy who's doing their like videos or something. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's him who did the trailer.
Yeah,
So maybe that's what it is.
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely amazing, absolutely great.
Mm,
Yeah, just the detail, the absolute detail. Yeah, Irish Pat 64. Ooh, that's pretty. Very much agree.
mm,
It's looking pretty good. But that's it. That's all the information we have with the F-104. They're not really giving much else away other than giving us these nice updates.
mm.
Then another one. This was John that actually picked this one out. You're probably going to disappear again, John. But we have this MiG 29AM Polish modernized. Now, this is a community mod for the Flaming Cliffs MiG 29, but it looks rather cool. A little bit limited in some ways, but otherwise pretty cool. We've got some updated cockpit equipment. It has some click spots, but like a lot of the things don't actually like visually update when you click on them. You're just like triggering systems. Pardon me when you click on them, but still, it's rather cool.
Mm. It's really cool little additions because you're not fundamentally changing the aircraft, are you? You're just adding like some additional. I think it's got additional comms. Like I said, it's got that little UFC there for like nav. Um, this is the kind of thing. I heard someone say this because the person who sent me this said this. He said this is the kind of thing that would have been nice that we would have got in FC 2024. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
Flaming Cliffs, but with some extra little things like this would have been a really nice little sub variants. Would have been really really cool little addition, but
hmm.
it is what it is. But I think it's really cool.
Yeah, because I would assume this is based on the upgrades that the Polish Air Force has made to their MiG
Hmm.
29s. It seems fairly minor. Like we've got that extra radio, we've got a UFC, and we've got a new display with
Mm.
GPS. So it's just little bits and bobs, but it probably makes the aircraft a little bit easier to fly, a little bit easier to manage, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool little things. I think the dev of this has said that when the full fidelity comes out, he's going to attempt a similar thing for the full fidelity one. But he said, yeah, I have to see kind of thing. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's really cool. I think the modding community for DCS is really cool. Some of the things they can achieve without an SDK is mind-boggling to me. Sometimes it's amazing stuff, and we've seen a fair amount of them end up becoming developers. I mean, you got Grinelli,
yes.
Cuban Ace. I think he ended up getting involved with, or to some degree, the Sky Raider. And then is it Kinku Dolpelate, yeah, whatever it is, ham and cheese sandwich. Well, he's now working at Polyshop. So
Yeah, because
you
he
know,
originally did the
Black Hawk.
Black Hawk. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
remember the
yeah.
name.
So yeah, no, the mods, and then let's just look at the A4. I mean, that's just a
Oh,
absolute gold standard, isn't it? Of you know,
you can't beat that. The A4 is just stunning, absolutely
yeah,
stunning.
yeah, yeah. And this
Oh,
and what's that? Sorry?
reacting to Pink Floyd. Sexy,
Yeah,
you need to see the SU-33. I think I know the one he's talking about. There's one that
yeah.
models a couple of different versions of the flanker, like the
Mm,
Indian version and one of the more advanced Russian versions.
mm,
It's also kind of cool. I flew it for a little bit, but I found it a little bit janky. But it is cool. It's
yeah.
definitely cool.
I quite like that MiG 29 there because it's got a limited scope, which is good. I actually think not going too crazy and trying to produce something a brand new jet. I mean, that's such a big project, isn't it? You're
Oh
never
yeah,
going to be able to hit that bar. But just taking an existing jet and going, oh, we just added these little systems that the Polish did. I think that's an achievable kind of goal, isn't it? I think these sort of things are really really cool.
yeah. Talk saying clearly we'll never get the Russian flankers. Well, I guess in full fidelity, no. But then you could implement exciting missions like ramming drones.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Sim Racer, I tell you what, blokes, you're farting sparks. Um, I'm assuming that's a compliment.
Yeah. I'm gonna take it that way.
Channel right. I think it'd be nice for ED to do their night sky. It needs to be less dark or blackened.
Mm.
Hmm. Okay. You can probably just adjust your settings because there is a setting for that. What is it again? I can't remember now. Like
You mean
there's
you got the
general.
in-game gamma? You got the in-game
Yes,
gamma, haven't you? You can put that up a little bit. I've seen people do that, especially if you stream. If you're a streamer and you do night missions, always worth cranking that a little bit just so people can actually see. Because when you stream, it just yes, like the bit rates, it just murders
it always
details.
gets darker.
Yeah,
Like I've often had that problem when playing Tarkov. Like as soon as I go indoors in Tarkov, you can't see anything on the stream.
yeah,
Although I
absolutely.
can see, it's just the viewers can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
FA-18C Hornet. Every time I see that thumbnail, I think, tornado. It would be a day one purchase. You're just teasing the viewers, John.
I know exactly. That's what we're doing here. That's exactly why we did it. We were like, yeah, look, we've got to put a tornado there. Then the problem is when the tornado's out, I've got to do some more artwork. We've got to find
Yeah.
the next thing, haven't we? Yeah,
There's the
Jaguar.
Frantic is foaming at the mouth in the corner somewhere. Yes. Now, another thing that John drew to my attention, this was posted and then later taken down, is my understanding.
hmm
So let's grab a little peek at this. This comes from Cobra of Heatblur. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you have a nice, relaxing time. Thank you for 2024 and for all of your help and support. And this is a perfectly normal screenshot of an F-14 Tomcat. There's nothing to see here. Uh, However, there is, isn't there, John?
Absolutely. So if you look very carefully, it has a what's called a Sparrowhawk HUD, and this is the HUD that they put into the F-14BU or upgrade. So for a while now, people have been screaming. I've probably been one of them, screaming out for an F-14D. But basically, Heatblur, which is good. I actually like this. They're like, we don't have enough data to model a lot of these systems because it's not just what it looks like, is it, or even what it shows. It's how it interacts with different systems. So there's a previous forum post. You have to trust me on this one because I haven't got it to hand, but it's from like years ago, and it was one of the developers, and he said, "Look, the Sparrowhawk HUD. It's not just a new fancy HUD, but it's a lot of the data that it's running off is going through the mill standard bus. Is it 1553? I can't remember what it is. It's the data bus basically that they upgraded the Tomcat with, and that's handling all that information. And then there's obviously a couple new systems and sensors and things. Another part of it is also it's how the Sparrowhawk talks to the PTID. So the PTID is that upgraded, the fishbowl in the back of the Tomcat for the Rio. There's an upgraded version of that, which is more. The best way to explain it is it's square, and it's got a lot more buttons and a lot more functionality. There's also digital. There's kind of a middle ground between the BU and the D, of like digital augmentation systems. So the D had a lot more of them, but the B has got like a kind of middle ground. As far as this is my understanding, I could be wrong. I'm sure there's a Tomcat geek that can quote me on this. But yeah, to see that Sparrowhawk HUD tells me now at any point they could just say no, we tried it and we're not doing it. But that tells me we're getting a BU. We're not getting a D because the D model has an MFD that replaces one of those middle screens, and it also has an MFD on the right where that RWR is. It's got two MFDs, and I think the bottom screen is replaced by like an armament selector panel. But yeah, that means we're pretty much. I'd say there's a very good chance we're going to get the BU. What that means in real terms is you're not going to be getting the radar upgrade that the D got. It's still got the Org 9. It doesn't have the IRST, which is a shame because that thing's amazing. But what we will get is that potentially we'll definitely get JDAM support, which is really cool because that's something they added to the BU. We may get, I can't remember what the name of it is, but basically it's the Lantern. They upgraded the software, so I think they managed to eke out better picture quality and the ability to laze from higher up and things like that out of the Lantern. So it literally was a card, if I remember rightly, like a PCI card they just slotted into the jet, or wherever it was, to basically make this thing work better. So we're not getting a D, but we're getting the closest we can to it. And if this, again, they could at any point say no, but if this screenshot is what it is, yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Well, speaking about them saying no, there was
Yeah.
subsequently this from Iron Mike. To address this, it is premature to consider it news. It remains a maybe. So please temper your expectations accordingly. Once we're far enough along and provided that we decide to actually follow through with it, we will have an official news about it. Until then, it's subject to change. Thank you for your kind understanding. This was not meant for public and has been shared accidentally. Whoopsie!
Faux pas.
However, I really, really appreciate that they put out there, although they
Mm,
have subsequently taken this post down. I've have this screenshot came from you, John. I
mm.
tried to find the original and can no longer find it. It's been erased from history.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So of course, I'm sorry, Heatblur. I'm making your
yeah.
problems worse by helping distribute this news.
Yeah, yeah.
But message to Heatblur: we like you guys. You're
Mm,
awesome. We support you. We're just getting psyched for something that could be in the future. We
yeah,
recognize what you're saying, that this may not happen.
yeah, yeah. And to be fair, like Heatblur are kind of goated. They can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. So
Oh
even
yeah.
if tomorrow they said, "Sorry, lads, we've looked into it, we've decided not," it's not that's not going to upset me. You
No.
know,
No.
it's that yeah they've been kicking ass. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm just
Still,
it's just cool to see this.
big love for Heatblur.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also notice. So it's not just the HUD. You see, of course, things like the master arm and the missile prep switches and things like that are relocated. I.
Hmm.
It looks to me, although I can't tell for sure, that the upper display is a slightly different type, the
Yeah.
VDI. Although I think it serves the same purpose, but
Hmm.
it looks like a slightly more modern unit. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can see things like the switches are moved to the right hand side of the VDU.
Mm,
So yeah, a little bit, things are jumbled around very slightly in that area of the cockpit,
mm.
which is cool. It's kind of cool to
Yeah.
see another variant. They've already given us 3 variants of the F-14. We have the FA early, the normal FA. So what am I saying? F-14A early, F-14A, and the F-14B. This
Mm,
could potentially be a 4th variant of the
mm.
aircraft, which is
No,
kind of amazing.
it'd be fifth because we haven't got the early yet, have we? That's not yet, but it's pretty much they're working on it. They also said they're going to do an Iranian version, aren't they? The
Which
Persian
is
cat.
effectively an F-14A early, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically got none of the bells and whistles, but it's it's accurate. I think they said that version might have the glove vanes, the little glove vanes that
It in
stick out
fact
the
does.
canards.
It
Yeah,
does
so
have
that
the
will
glove
have them
veins.
working. Because the others, the US welded them after a while, didn't they? They're like, nah, it's not really doing much. But I think the Iranians never welded their glove vanes.
Mm.
And it's got like a really basic RWR. I think the A early is going to get a basic RWR. Because weren't they saying for ages, they were like, let us do some stuff on the F4 because the RWR on the F4 will kind of feed into the F14A early.
Mm.
And then like the F14A early is the kind of like final countdown era, Jolly Rogers VF84 kind of era, 70s kind of Tomcat. There's Persian, like I said, cat, and then there's potentially this BU. So yeah, 5 all in all.
They're
If
kind of
is that
over
right?
delivering here.
Yeah, they have said years ago though. If you look at their FAQ on their FAQ on their forums, they do say if we do the BU, it's going to probably be like an upgrade pack or something, like a $10 kind of
Fine by me. Yeah.
$20. Yeah, you don't have to question me twice. Have my it's like the Fry, the Super
Take
Futurama
my
Fry
money.
thing. Take my money. Yeah.
Yes. Flyby Gospel, thoughts on the Veco T38 mod? Um, yeah, I haven't really seen much about that actually. Veco T38. There was like there was a trailer which I watched a while
Mm,
back. Yeah, there was a trailer back in June.
mm.
Um, and yeah, what did it come out or what? I don't even
I
know.
don't know. Maybe that's if it is out. Maybe that's another mod highlight video
Yeah.
that you
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I was doing those those mod videos for a while. I haven't done one recently.
Mm,
I think the last one I did was the Loach.
mm,
But yeah, looking at their forums, they're still they say that they're on track for a release in 2025. So that's not
mm,
out yet. I did watch the trailer and we did cover it in the news at the time, but that was back earlier in the year.
mm.
Yes, Irish Pat 64. I'm really hoping for a naval Phantom and F4J, but there hasn't been much talk about that, and understandably, the Eurofighter will be hugely popular.
Mm,
I think they said they were going to do a Marine F4 a bit
mm.
later,
They've
but
said that something along the lines of like this is just the start of the F4 journey.
yeah,
So I mean it's pretty much a given they're going to do a navalized F4. The J would make the most sense because that's other than the E, isn't it? You got the F4E and the J. They're kind of like as far as naval and air force, the kind of most common variants, aren't they? The S, I think the S is just the J with some upgraded slats and stuff, isn't it? So yeah, it'd be cool. And didn't we have the J's for a bit? We had a couple, didn't we? We ordered some extra J's
I think they were in the Royal Navy, yeah.
in the Navy. Yeah, I think so.
And we're also getting the digital upgrade at some stage.
Oh,
What was that?
DMAS, is it?
DMAS,
Is it
yeah.
DMAS? Yeah.
Which is for the E model, I think.
Mm.
So
And
that'd
that's
be cool.
got that little. That's a cool because that's got that little camera, isn't it? It's almost like an early version of the TCS on the Tomcat. It's like a wing-mounted. It's called the Tizio, if I remember rightly. It's like a wing-mounted camera which slaves to the radar. Because the problem was, wasn't it, in Vietnam? They were like, "Oh yeah, you've got BVR missiles, but you can't shoot BVR because you need to visually identify." So they're like, "Oh crap!" So that's where they came up with this camera system so that they could kind of say, "Oh, that's a MiG. Now we can shoot them."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess IFF wasn't reliable enough back in those days. Nice. Cool. Alrighty. I think that is pretty much all the news that we have for this week. I think I will take this opportunity to pimp the VAF, but first I will say to you all who are watching just now, we have 65 people watching right now. If all of you were to hit the like button right now, then you'd be doing me a solid. That'd be fantastic. And yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe and comment as well. That's a really, really big help to the channel. And you also have the option of joining Deepak's ground crew by clicking the join button below for a small monthly fee, about the cost of a cup of coffee per month. You can help me in making this content. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pink Floyd, is the F4E supposed to have a text generator so you can customize Jester's language? They were talking about adding a scripting interface to Jester. So yes, I think in the future, I don't know if it's exactly the feature you're talking about here, but certainly in the future there will be the ability to script him somewhat. You can probably make him say things and do things at certain points in a scripted mission, which is very, very cool. Oh, thank you very much, Irish Pat. That's very, very kind of you to make that contribution. Thank you very much, sir. Fault Raver, hey, a little late, but made it. Pink Floyd, yeah, that's it. He's pimping the VAF. Woods and Blokes, Bikes, sorry. Woods and Blokes, that's a totally different site. Thank you all for the video. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you very much. I salute you too. So yeah, time to pimp the VAF now. John might disappear as I do this, I don't know. Let's see what happens. But the VAF, or the Virtual Air Force, is a virtual online squadron originally started by myself and Dot Chuckles many, many moons ago. We currently fly Harrier, F-16 and F-18 squadrons, usually taking place missions and trainings on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. UK time. We're currently not flying, but we will start flying again next week in the new year. We're always looking for more people. You'll see the Discord link to our Discord server below. Come and join us, whether you want to be a pilot, air traffic controller, mission maker, livery maker, scripter, or whatever else. Or you just want to hang out and chat with people who are as excited about aviation as you are. They're a pretty good bunch of people. So yeah, that's the VAF, the Virtual Air Force. Come join us. Back to John. You should reappear now. What are people saying? Only Napalm, thanks Deepak and John Blur and all of you. Happy New Year. Irish Pat, thank you. I missed a bit. Thank you Deepak and John Blur. Always enjoy the news in the chat. Dancer at Fault Raver, you're just in time to hit that like button. Yes, hit that button. Osprey says Happy New Year, everyone. And Dirk G says thank you. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that we have for this week. It's been fantastic to have you all aboard again. This is the last DCS news of this year. We will see you in 2025 after hopefully some delicious foods and beverages have been imbibed. John Blur, remember, John Blur is on twitch.tv/John Blur, where he's doing exciting rotary stuff. Any other updates that you want to give all the very nice people, John?
That's about it. The only thing I thought we could just finish up on is what do we think our predictions are for the 2025 and beyond? Because they said early January. That's one thing I saw Big Nui say. So we know it's early January. So what's our predictions? What's yours, Steve?
Well, of course, you've been banging on about the F-15. and it does make sense. So
I
I'm
think
gonna
it will be.
I'm gonna piggyback on your suggestion of the F-15 there.
Hmm.
What else might happen? Hopefully, we get a little bit more content on the MiG-29. It'd be really
Hmm.
nice to see, anything in the cockpit, any of the displays working, because we haven't seen any working displays yet, just static images of the switches and instruments. I don't know.
Mm.
I
I
don't
think
know.
we're going to see it. There's a lot of third parties being worked on at the moment, and so I think we're going to see a fair amount of those. So obviously with Aerges, we've got the F1M, we've got the F-104, we've got everything from. I mean, we might even see a little bit externally of the Tornado. That would be cool because they did do a
Typhoon.
couple of externals.
I might see
Typhoon.
Typhoon.
We've got the A7, the A6.
Yes.
We've got the MBBO 105, wherever it's called, the German Death Egg.
Yes.
We've got there's so many stuff. We've got obviously the World War II stuff, the Hellcat, the Corsair. What looked cool actually was they're gonna have a World War II carrier, aren't they? With all
They
that
are.
that stuff.
Yeah, the Essex, I believe.
Yeah, we're gonna have the Marianas World War II. Um, I think it's gonna be a pretty jam-packed one. I really do. And then I think probably I don't know how you'd show off dynamic campaign on the Beyond 2025 and beyond, but they might find a way. If you said to me what my predictions are, what I think the secret, because it's always a secret module, isn't there? There's always that what I call the post credits Marvel bit they always love to do. I think it's the F-15C. You ask me. If not, possibly a ground unit. I think
That
we
would be
might get
nice.
An Abrams or something like that. But maybe this pack might be what they're. Maybe that's dispelled that. I don't know. After this heavy metal pack they just released, maybe they're not. Maybe that was what they were trying to tease. But yeah,
I
if I was
also
a betting man,
I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of the C-130J. We've not
yeah,
seen enough of that recently.
yeah, yeah. People saying in their folder gap as well.
Mhm.
We've also got stuff like Grinelli. We're getting pretty far on with their. They've got the Super Saber, haven't they, as
Yes.
well? I think we're going to see a lot of glimpses of stuff. It's going to be cool. I genuinely actually looking forward to it. The typical sort of DCS cynicism aside, it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it all. Like whatever they show me, like I'm always absolutely stuck to the year and beyond videos. I really enjoy those. So
Mm, mm,
I'll be watching it with great enjoyment very soon.
yeah,
I hope.
mm,
Excellent. Alrighty. Well,
mm.
you've been John Bloor.
I have.
I've I've been Deepak. Every week on a Saturday at 6:30 p.m. UK time, I post a new tutorial video. Currently doing a series on the Apache H64D. That will continue next week. It's going to be taxi and takeoff and doing a bit of flying, just the basics. And that's always followed by the DCS news, which just happens to be this thing what you are watching right now. Big shout out to Deepak's ground crew. Thank you very much, all of you. Channel Right, JR Walker, Fishy's Canal, Mr. Yeti, Tech Tier Zero, Sean 81, John Bloor, Tea Kettle Barbecue, Whiskey Dale, Stuart McLean, Mangash, Exorcist, Frantic, Michael, Willow Wilson, Byron Farrow, Osprey, Snooblaren, Mad Dog Max 78, Pink Floyd, and Samantha. Thank you all very. Oh, John Bloor. I missed John Bloor. That's
Was
very
I on there?
embarrassing. Yeah,
All right.
you're in
Okay.
here.
Oh, all right.
Very embarrassing given he's right here.
Mm,
So thank you all very much for your support. It's
mm.
been great having you all aboard again. Fly safe, and we'll see you all next time. Ta-ta.